try it like you create it. And for this week's tag, we are going to work with a printable set of fall themed tags. So I have my printable here. I'm going to go ahead and cut them down and then come back and share with you. So for our first tag, we're just going to do kind of a messy smush. And this is like one of my favorite techniques, is to take your ink, put it down on a surface, spray it with water, and then kind of just pick it up with your tag. So I'm using Distressed Oxide for this. You can use any water-based ink. And I'm going to use fossilized amber, spiced marmalade, and a little bit of brushed corduroy. And so I'm just putting this down. Oops. I'm just putting them down on my glass mat here. And maybe a little bit more yellow. And then we'll touch into it with our brown. Doesn't have to be these exact colors. You can use whatever color suits your taste. So I've got that. I'm going to grab my water bottle here, and I'm just going to spritz on top. And you can see the ink kind of start to move around. My water bottle's getting low, so I'm going to have to refill here. But I think we probably have enough. And you know what? I'm going to spritz some DIY gold shimmer on top of all of this. And we could spray it on our tag after we're done if we want. But I'm just going to go ahead and kind of add it into the mix here. All right, let's see how that works. I've never done that before. So now we're just going to go in and start picking up that ink and work on getting it around our white areas if we can, and hopefully not cover up too much of our type. We can always go over the type with a marker. That's the fun thing about this, is that you can, use your marker. And then, so I have these white spots I'm trying to fill up, so I'm just going to use my finger and grab some of that ink and get it in there instead of keep dabbing away and trying to get it to go where I want it. I'm actually just going to pick it up and put it where I want it. And then maybe we'll put a little brown down here at the bottom. Got some on this side over here I need to fill in. So there. Now all we have to do is dry this, clean off our area, and we have our first tag done. All right, so I have gone ahead and dried my tag, and as I move it, there is sparkle in there from spraying on the gold shimmer, so I don't need to add any more. To enhance what's here a little bit, I'm going to take my green pencil and just color in these leaves. And of course you can do this with or without coloring in. I'm using Derwent, which are ink tints, so I can go over them with a little bit of water and they will blend like watercolor. So I'm going to touch those up, and then the other thing I was going to do is use my fine liner. Now you can use any kind of marker here if you wanted to go in and just darken up your letters. Now this is going to take me a little bit of time to go over each letter, and I want to be as precise as it possibly can so it doesn't look like it's handwritten. So I'm not gonna bore you with me doing every single letter here, but just to show you that you can go in and enhance those dark letters if you want. Or if you want to go over the leaves, you can do that too. All right, so there are just two, and I think you can see the difference there between that happening. And then let's see if I can grab my water brush. It doesn't have any water in it. So let me fill this up and then I'll be right back. All right, so I have some water in my water brush now, and I'm just going to go over the leaves that I colored. And I didn't even do a great job of coloring them in because I know that that color is going to spread as I get it wet. Now you can go in and add as much detail to this as you'd like. I just did a flat color over the leaves. But if you want to add more dimension, you definitely could do that. All right, so there is that. The other thing I can do with my brush is go over the letters and remove some of the color, right, by painting over these. Now, it's not going to be as dark as I did go over them with the ink. However, I can, because it's water-based, I can move that ink off of these letters and clean things up if I want. It's really up to you. It's just a choice. And just getting my brush wet and going over these to move the ink away is an option. For some reason, this E doesn't want to clean up as well as the others. So that might be a reason for going over it with the marker instead. But there is the first idea for coloring in our tags. Okay, so for our second tag, I am going to use some yellow and some green, and these are pigment, so they're going to take a little bit longer to dry, and they are pretty bright for fall, but I'm using a leaf stamp, and I'm just going to pick up the lightest color first, which is the yellow, and then just randomly stamp on here and create kind of a textural look. Maybe I won't stamp in the middle where it says give thanks, but just around the outer edges. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, that's pretty subtle, and I'm not seeing a lot of color, but then we're going to go in with the green, and let's see what that does. It's a very light, subtle application, but definitely creating texture for us. And even though I'm using a leaf stamp, it's hard to tell what that texture is coming from. You can always stamp more than once when you ink up your stamp. And that will give you a little bit of variation on there. But I like the look of that. So maybe if we go in and do a little coloring on the leaf, or we could paint around in the circle, but I think coloring in those leaves might give it a nice look. So let's do that once again. We'll just go in with, since I have my Derwent pencils out, I'm just going to go in and color a light green color into these little leaves. I could even go over it with the water brush, but since they're so little, I don't think they're going to need to be blended with water. But I like this idea. It gives it just a little bit of a finishing touch there for a really nice light look. Now we could definitely go around the edge if we wanted to. Lots of options here for this one, but there is another option for coloring in your tag. Okay, so the next option would be coloring with alcohol ink markers. Now I've gone ahead and grabbed some coordinating colors here, and I'm just going to go in and add. I like to work with light colors first, and I don't have a lot of great orange colors. I guess orange isn't a color I use a lot. So what I have here is a vanilla alcohol ink marker, and you can see I'm just roughly going over this pumpkin shape, and then I'm going to go in and add detail with a darker orange color. We can even use a blender to blend them together if we'd like. But with alcohol ink markers, they are going to bleed through to the back. So you may want to, if you're going to use the back for writing on it, you may want to go in and cover it after you're done with your coloring. So I'm just going to go in now with this orange and add a little bit of definition here. And I'm guided by the image. I mean, these striped lines here are showing me, you know, where the darkness needs to be. So if you're not great at coloring, this would be a great set of images to color, because it's basically showing you, you know, where to do some touching up with color. All right, and then let's go on the stem. I'm going to do browns, and so I'm just going to go in with this brown. I'm using Spectrum Noir markers, and then I'm just going to go in with a darker and add a little bit of darkness to it, and that's pretty much all you need. Now, I could cut this shape out. I could put it onto another tag. That would be kind of fun. What if we cut this shape out and then did a pattern paper and put this on top of the pattern paper? That would be a nice look with this pumpkin. So a couple of options here for coloring. You definitely have the background that you could fill, and you know, do it however you would like. All right, so for my background, I decided to kind of go all out funky, and I'm going with some kind of pink colors, and I am just going to do a solid around the background. So for this one, we use alcohol ink markers. And if you don't like the background, I can still cut the pumpkin out and use it for something else. All right, so for this tag, I'm going to go ahead and use my it's Maya, which is a company that makes Hemi. These are watercolors, and I'm going to go in and color this set of acorns. And let's go, trying to decide on the colors here. Let's just start with this brown. And these are really opaque colors, so I don't think we're going to see any of our black shapes. So I may need to switch out which paints I use. So if I paint and blot, I can still see my shape there. I'm going to go into a darker brown here for the top of the acorn. And once again, I'm going to blot with a dry baby wipe. And this color is so dark, I don't know. We may need to switch out our plan here. But let's just see what happens. And I'm actually splotching up the background, so we may have to go in and do a little bit of something with that. Okay, so let's go with a light yellow. Maybe if I water it down some more, we can go in and get these to be colored a little bit and still see through our watercolor. All right, that is looking better. Let's go in and take some of that dark brown and water it down. Then we go in and add a little detail in our leaves. Just a little here and there along the veins of it. Not too much. Maybe a little color in the stems. Just a quick watercolor. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and color the background because we kind of got a little splotchiness here. I could go in and move it with water, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this yellow color. I'm going to put it down. I'm going to get it really nice and wet. I'm going to pick it up with my dry baby wipe and just kind of pounce it onto the background. Okay, and then what if we grabbed a little, do we want to do a brighter orange or maybe this kind of mustardy color? That kind of goes with what we have going on there. All right, picking it up with the baby wipe and then doing a little splotchy and just rubbing it around the edges so we get a darker blend around the edge and splotchy towards the middle where we painted. That's not bad, not bad. So now we just have to dry it and set it aside, and I might even go in and just pick up a little bit of dark brown and just a little teeny tiny bit on here and just splotch a little bit because I've got some splotches in here. So I really don't want a lot, just some. around my image just to make those coordinate. It was a mistake, and now we're going to work with it. So there. All right, so I just have to give it a dry, but that's working with watercolor on our tag. All right, for this one, I've taken some washi tape in greens and blues, and I've laid it down over my leaf. And now I am going to take a cutting tool and cut around the shape of the leaf. And I'm going to have to cut in towards. I may need to change out my cutting tool. This one doesn't want to curve very well for me, but I'll give it a go, see how it works. Okay, so I've got the first line of tape done. Let's see what that looks like. Did I get through? I don't think I did. All right, so I'm going to switch out my cutting tool here. Just looking to see what my options are. You can always use an X-Acto knife. That's something I'm pretty good at. Okay. I also have one of these tools, and I have never been very good at using this. Look how big that is. But I'm going to give it a go here and see how it might work. That might have given us the best cut so far. All right, so I messed up a little bit right in this area here. Let's see if we can go in. I think with a pencil might be the better choice for coloring that in instead of black marker. It's not bad. Go over a few of these areas. There we go. All right, not too bad. And that one's kind of fun with the cut washi tape. So tell me in the comments below, how would you go through coloring? We used, let me see if I can move some of this out of the way here. All right, so we used washi tape, we used watercolor, we used stamping, we used alcohol ink markers, and then we used a wet smushing technique with colored pencils. So I still have some colored pencils I could do. I have two more. Nope, I think I have one more tag. Yeah, this one. So I could do a little bit more pencil on this one, but that would give us a variety of different ways to color in our tags this week.